In the shadows of the night, I emerge like a thug. A modern day warrior, ain't no need for a shrug. I walk with confidence, I talk with pride. I'll take down the system, ain't no need to hide. So watch out, bitches, I'm coming for the crown. Power playing po-po, better bow down. I'll break the chains of injustice, set the world on fire. Listen up, sir, the queen has arrived.
Well done, Abby. It's so good. Abby will be joining us on another live stream shortly because she has some more news on this case. Anyway, Abby published this clip as well, which is the topic for today.
All right, so why are we out here?
Your Honor, I just saw the verdict forms. As we discussed yesterday, the amendments...
Oh, no. Okay, I did not say I'd make it. I said I'd think about it. I said I was tired and I needed to think about it.
You said before you were tired and you needed to think about it was you agreed that there needs to be not guilty options for the subordinate charges.
No, I said that it made sense to me, but no, I did not change it upon looking at it because the verdict slip, this verdict slip submitted to the jury is exactly how it always is in Massachusetts.
I ask you a question. I don't really care how it always is in Massachusetts. I care about whether or not it's appropriate.
It's appropriate.
Let me make my argument, if you wouldn't mind, Judge, why it's not appropriate. For a superior charge, they have to decide that she is not guilty of the superior charge. Once they decide that she's not guilty of the superior charge, now there's 2 additional charges that they've been instructed they must decide whether she's guilty or not guilty. How do they decide that she's not guilty of involuntary manslaughter on that verdict?
That's their decision to make.
And how do they make it if they don't have an option to check a box that says not guilty?
Don't check the box that says guilty, do they? And then when they go to the next block, they don't check the block that says guilty, and on the top, you're left with not guilty, okay?
So it's the absence of the check mark the court determines is the not guilty finding by the jury.
Yes, that's what the verdict slip reads. It reads not guilty. If they don't check block 2, 3, or 4, the verdict slip reads not guilty, okay? That's how it is, Mr. Jackson.
Well, and apparently that's how it's going to be because of the court's order. That's not how it should be. They need to see that there is a not guilty option for the subordinate charges. If they come back guilty on, for instance, involuntary manslaughter, that's immediately appealable. They didn't have an option on the verdict form to find her not guilty. It's almost like the court is directing a verdict of the subordinate charges.
Okay, I disagree with you. Ms. Tianetti, you've seen verdict slips exactly like this, okay? Have you had no lesser includeds?
We've always had lesser includeds, but I have not seen a verdict slip there where not guilty is not an option.
Okay, I disagree with you. Excuse me? This is funny, Ms. Reed? All right, we're done.
To suggest that the defence never addressed the jury form issue is disingenuous at best. Anyone who was watching this trial was under absolutely no doubt whatsoever that the Commonwealth had piled up all of these charges so that they could get her on at least one, if not the subordinate charges. The fact that Beverly wanted to instruct the jury to fill out all of the charges, or none at all, is the issue.
Don't tell anyone, including me, how the jury stands numerically or otherwise on the questions before such time as you have reached a unanimous verdict. You are going to notice shortly that the court officers...
Okay, so right there, do not tell anybody anything about your splits until you have reached a unanimous verdict. But it's unclear about whether she means unanimous verdict with regard to all of the counts or all of the charges or just one. Let's take that back a second.
Don't tell anyone, including me, how the jury stands numerically or otherwise on the questions before such time as you have reached a unanimous verdict.
Before such time as you have reached a unanimous verdict. I mean, it doesn't say on all 3, right? All or nothing.
Remember that the decision of the jury must be unanimous in the foreperson should be certain that each member of the jury is in complete agreement with the verdict. After the final vote of the jury, the foreperson should check the appropriate boxes as to each charge, then sign and date the verdict slips and notify the court officer that you have reached a unanimous verdict. You will then be brought back into the courtroom where the foreperson will deliver the verdicts to the court.
Okay, so, I mean, again, it's a little bit confusing. You have to fill everything out. Just take it back. Make sure that you check the appropriate boxes on each. The jury must be unanimous in every count. Hold on. Play it again because I'm confused.
Remember that the decision of the jury must be unanimous in the foreperson should be certain that each member of the jury is in complete agreement with the verdict. After the final vote of the jury, the foreperson should check the appropriate boxes as to each charge, then sign and date the verdict slips and notify the court officer that you have reached a unanimous verdict. You will then be brought back.
Right, that they have reached a unanimous verdict. They did not reach a unanimous verdict on all 3 of the counts, and the second one was very confusing because it had all of those lesser included charges in it.
And the fact that her chosen foreperson was either not clear that it was only the second count they couldn't agree on, or they did tell Judge Bev and she failed to advise the court and put it on record. Either way, if a whole bunch of practicing and experienced attorneys on YouTube were confused with Judge Bev's instructions, then how confused were the jury? It did seem to all of us that Judge Bev wanted the jury to find her guilty on at least one of the charges, or none at all. And it's the none at all part that makes it seem like she's pushing the jury for a guilty verdict on at least one before their job is done. On top of all of that, absolutely everybody who watched the verdict, lawyer or layperson, was led to believe that the jury couldn't come to a unanimous verdict on any of the charges. So how is it that we expected the defence team to know that the jury had actually acquitted on 2 of 3 charges? If there was absolutely nothing said in court that all of us and all these experienced lawyers didn't detect, then how can we expect the defence team to detect it? And one last final point, how fast did she dismiss that jury?
But let's see if there are any acquittals. This is important, even
Yes.
to know whether they acquitted on the murder charge or anything else.
I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case. I'll be in to see you privately in a few minutes. So thank you so much for your service. Okay.
All rise for the court, please.
Mistrial.
I guess that's a mistrial across the board since no one you'd have to know whether anything was acquitted or not. I guess not.
Did they fill out no part of the verdict slip? No, she doesn't pull them, right? She does
Nope.
not. They do not get pulled.
That sounds like a mistrial on everything.
At what point in time did the defence team even have the opportunity to ask her to poll the jury? All of 10 seconds passed between I'm declaring a mistrial to thank you for your service, all rise for the jury please. So just to recap, first of all, nobody knew the jury had acquitted on 2 or 3 charges, let alone the defence. And 2, Judge Bev was in an awful hurry to get that jury out of there after she declared the mistrial, leaving the defence with absolutely no opportunity to have asked to poll the jury. And last but not least, if Bev had polled that jury before she declared the mistrial, like the previous 2 notes for example, then it would come across as coercion to get the holdouts to vote one way or another by calling them out. So, that was never going to happen. At the very least, Bev should have polled the jury on the 2 counts that they were unanimous on, right there at the end before she let them go. And here's the kicker. If any of the jury mentioned to Judge Bev in her chambers that they had voted to acquit on 2 or 3 charges, or at any stage throughout the deliberations had advised the judge that they had come to a unanimous verdict on 2 of 3 charges, then she is now a witness in these motions that were filed in the last couple of days. And if that is the case, that she's a witness now, then she can't adjudicate on these motions. And that's the reason there's a new lawyer on these motions, because Jackson and Yannetti are now witnesses. If we see anything come out regarding these motions that Bev has ruled on, then she either wasn't told anything or she's going to deny it outright. So we'll be keeping an eye on the docket to see what else gets filed in the next couple of days, or weeks, or however long it takes.